trust me. But I said something about connection, very important. When you make effort as a parent to connect with your child, even from a very early, from the early years, when the child is a toddler, the child is a young adolescent, 8 years, 10 years, when you make effort to connect, get your child to a point where your child sees you as the most influential voice, because definitely there will be other mentors in your child's life. There will be other people speaking to your child, people that are not known to you, their peers, the people they meet online, the people they meet in the course of doing life. But when the seed you have sown as a parent from the time when the child is still, you're the only one that is available in that child's life, only one that child knows, and you make every effort to connect with your child. What connection does is that it helps your child to trust you. So much so that even when an external voice is speaking to your child is still able to come back and say, oh, mommy, oh, daddy, look at what I heard. There are children who never grow too old to share with their parents or to listen to their parents. Now, how do you reconcile a child that has interest in skill-oriented learning with the learning in the four walls, within the four walls of a classroom? All of them are learning. The truth is that it is not right for a child not to. The child should experience, there's what is called basic education. A child is supposed to experience the basic education, which is primary school, secondary school. So it is not okay that a child says, I want to learn skills, and the child does not go to primary school, or the child forfeits secondary school because he wants to learn a skill. That is not even what I
Welcome to the Aspire for Excellence Foundation webinar series. This evening, we will be taking a topic titled From Dreaming to Doing, Raising Young Adults Who Embrace the Process of Success. And tonight with us is a certified adolescent and teen coach, Mrs. Nikky Nzekwe, and she's here in our midst. She will be speaking to us on this very, very crucial and important subject. So we will proceed to read her bio now. Madam, if you can hear us, you may need to put on your video so that we can see you at very soon. You are welcome, madam. But please, let's start by giving her, I would say, a rousing welcome, please. To say welcome, madam. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
We appreciate this. Okay. So we'll take her bio now. And after the bio, madam, you have the floor for the next 1 hour. Thank you for coming tonight, madam. So, George, can we get her bio, please? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Nikky Nzekwe is a certified adolescent coach, family life practitioner, and the founder of Thrive Together Coaching Hub Limited, a family-focused coaching brand dedicated to helping adolescents to thrive while supporting Nigerian parents to maintain strong, loving bonds with their children. With over 12 years of hands-on experience working with adolescents through a non-governmental organization she founded in 2014, Mrs. Nikky is passionate about helping young people build strong identity, emotional stability, and self-leadership. Her work is driven by her personal story as a young girl who faced silent pressures and emotional struggles while carrying big dreams. This, in addition to her professional training and experience, give her a unique ability to understand today's youth deeply. Through her coaching brand, Coach Nikky, as she's fondly called, provides professional support for young people, parents, teachers, and youth-focused institutions. Her area of expertise include adolescent coaching and behavioral insight, psychometric assessments, identity building and personal branding for girls, emotional intelligence, peer pressure and digital distractions, parent coaching, family communication improvement. She is widely known as a trusted coach with a warm approach, deep empathy, and ability to promote transformation in both adolescents and parents. She distinguishes herself as a passionate advocate for teen development and a voice for the next generation. Her mission is powerful and clear: to elevate young people, support parents, and strengthen African families. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Okay. Hello, everyone. And I must say, it's my pleasure to be with you tonight. It's my pleasure, really, to discuss this very important topic that borders on a generation of young people chasing the appearance of success without the appetite for the process. So, I'm convinced that as a parent, you will leave this meeting with clarity, you will leave with tools, and you will leave with conversations that will change how you relate with your child or any young adult under your care on this subject matter. As a host, as your host already told you, my name is Nikky Nzekwe, known as Coach Nikky. I'm a certified adolescent coach. I'm also a parent like you. So if you're happy as I am to be in this meeting tonight, let me just see your reaction. Let me see you say yes, just for a second, and then we progress. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to try to move very fast because the host already told me that I'm being timed. So I want to move very fast to enable us cover all that I plan to share with you. I really wouldn't want to leave anything out. So I'll appreciate that we all pay attention, and any questions definitely should come at the end. So thank you. So the goal for this meeting is to help you as a parent or caregiver to understand why your child thinks differently. Secondly, the goal is to help you understand how purpose drives motivation. And thirdly, to provide you with insights on how to raise children who embrace the process, not just shortcuts. Though it appears that we are currently living in a shortcut culture. Now, how many of us have ever found ourselves in situations where it's crossed our minds that, oh, my child just doesn't like reading anymore, or all my child wants is just to make money, or your child is even beginning to say things like school is a scam, or your child even suddenly wants to become an influencer overnight? So, anyone? Let me see your hands up. All right. Okay, I can see the hands up. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Now, today, I want to suggest something, that may surprise you. I want you to know that your child's biggest struggle is probably not laziness. It's not even school. School may not even be your child's biggest problem. It may not even be social media. Their biggest struggle is that they are trying to build an adult future with an adolescent, with the brain of an adolescent. Let me put it that way. They're trying to build an adult future with an adolescent brain while living in a digital world that rewards visibility more than maturity. And unless we understand how the adolescent brain works, we will keep correcting behavior without addressing the beliefs driving those behaviors or that behavior. Now, the truth is this: the child you're raising is not broken, but sometimes the child is competing. Is competing with something. Something is competing for your child's mind. Now, let me tell you a short story quickly. A mother sent me a voice note at almost midnight, sometime earlier this year, and she was in tears. Her 20-year-old son, a brilliant boy, always top of his class. The boy had just told her that he was dropping out of school. He just wanted to become a musician. He had shown her his phone. Now, one of the musicians he follows has about 3 million subscribers. So the boy said to his mother, "Mommy, that man doesn't have a degree, yet he makes more money."
Network.
It seems the speaker,
In that moment,
okay, she's back now. Okay, she's back now. Okay, go ahead, madam. We lost you for a while.
Okay, where did you miss me, please?
You talked about a 20-year-old.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. I was just trying to quickly share the story of a mother that called me to say that her 20-year-old son, her brilliant boy, a boy that was always top of his class, and the boy had just dropped out of school. And the boy actually was at the verge of dropping out of school, because he wanted to become a musician. So I hope you can still hear me, please.
Yes, madam.
Okay, so the boy had shown his mother his phone, and of course he was telling the mom that the musician he follows, who has about 3 million subscribers. So, and then he's asking the mother why the mom wants him to have a degree. So he's like, Mommy, this man doesn't have a degree, yet he makes more money in 1 month than you, my mother, makes in a year. So why are you forcing me to go to school? Of course, the mom couldn't answer him, not because she didn't have an answer, but because in that very moment, she realized that she did not know how to speak the son's language. You see, that conversation between a parent who wants the best for their child and a child who has been sold a different definition of what best means is happening in Nigerian homes every single day. So this night, we're going to change how you show up in that conversation. I hope you can hear me, please.
Yes, ma. Go ahead, ma.
Okay, thank you. So let's quickly look at why today's young adults are all over the place chasing results instead of embracing the process that actually delivers sustainable results. Today's young adults, they're growing up in what I call the highlight generation. That's what I choose to call it. Now, you see, I say so because they consume thousands of success stories without really seeing the actual process behind those success stories. As it stands, social media has made it possible to compress 20 years of hard work into a 30 seconds highlight video. So what your child is always seeing is, he's seen the mansions in the video, he's seen the luxury cars, he's seen the awards, the vacations, he's seen the followers. But they never get to see the rejection. They never get to see the apprenticeship period. The child never gets to see the discipline behind that success. He doesn't get to see the years of obscurity. He doesn't see the years of delayed gratification. But because every information has been put in a 30 seconds highlight reel, so what he just chooses to hold on to is the things that he sees. Now, the truth is this: the adolescent brain naturally overestimates rewards. The adolescent brain, which is the brain of your young adult, it naturally overestimates rewards and it underestimates consequences. And that is why many young people genuinely believe that success should happen quickly. So before we continue, I want to quickly point out that the adolescent years typically extend to the mid-20s. So let's get that. So having said that, I need you to understand also that the adolescent brain develops in stages. So what happens is that the emotional and reward-seeking part of the brain develops much earlier than the part responsible for long-term planning, impulse control, and wise judgment. And this explains why when social media promises quick success, your child's brain finds that message incredibly attractive. Now, parents, please, I'm not trying to make an excuse. This is not me making an excuse. It's an explanation, because when we understand the teenage brain, it helps us as parents to work with wisdom instead of frustration. So my approach here is that before I give you tools, I need to give you understanding, because you cannot navigate what you don't understand. And what many parents do not fully understand is this: your teenager is not being difficult. Their brain is doing exactly what a teenage brain was designed to do. And you see, someone already figured that out before you. The owners of these platforms have already figured that out before you. And they are actually, what they're doing is, they're using that against your child. So let me give you what I consider the most important piece of information I will share with you tonight, because everything else is going to build on this. And I actually think it's the science every parent needs to know. It's simple, it's basic science, and I think all of us can grasp it, can quickly grab it. So listen carefully. The adolescent brain is not a smaller version of an adult's brain. All of us here are adults, right? So the brain of your adolescent child or your young adult is not the same, it's not like your own brain, but maybe smaller size of it. Rather, the adolescent brain is a brain under major construction. What I mean is that your adolescent child's brain, your young adult's brain is still being constructed. You know, it's like a house that is still under construction. And when you understand this, it will definitely change everything about how you parent your child. So let me quickly share some brain facts with you. The first fact I want to share is that there's a part of the brain that is called the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is not fully developed in the adolescent. Now, the prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain that is responsible for long-term thinking and planning. It's a part of the brain that is responsible for weighing consequences before acting. Remember, I said this part of the brain is still developing, is not fully developed. So it's a part of the brain that is responsible for resisting impulse and peer pressure and understanding delayed gratification. That's why you as an adult you can easily start making long-term plans. It's easy for you to weigh the consequences before you take action, but your child cannot, because that child's brain, the prefrontal cortex of your child is not yet fully developed. Now, this part of the brain is also the part of the brain that is responsible for understanding delayed gratification. That's why as an adult, you understand the need for delayed gratification, but your child does not, because that part of the brain is not fully developed. Now, this part of the brain is not fully developed, and it doesn't really fully develop until the mid-20s. Now, what this means is that when your child says school is a waste of time, when your child says, I want to make money fast, they are not being rebellious. They are being neurologically honest. Let me say it again. They are being neurologically honest, because their brain is genuinely wired in that season, that particular season of adolescence, to want now over later. They want everything now. They want it now. They want quick results. You know, what I mean is that they want instant rewards. They prefer instant reward over delayed gratification. And you know, this is not laziness as we want to believe. It's biology. It's biology. And it's your job as a parent not to fight this, but your job is to understand it and then work within it with wisdom so that you can achieve the full results. Now, the key brain fact number 2 is there is the reward center of the brain, and that reward center of the brain at this stage of adolescence is on overdrive. So this part of the brain is called the nucleus accumbens. It's known as the reward center of the brain. It is a part of the brain that is responsible for pleasure. Remember, I said it's very active, it's on overdrive. And that's the part that is responsible for pleasure, is the part that is responsible for reward seeking, is the part responsible for addiction. Now, during adolescence, this reward center is very active, it's hyperactive. So what this means is that your child feels pleasure and excitement more intensely than in older adults, because this part of the brain is hyperactive during adolescence. So the child is more susceptible to things that trigger dopamine. You know, example, likes. You see a child is ready to go to any length. He's so happy when they see likes on their post, when they see so many views. They're chasing likes, views, they're chasing validation, they're chasing instant money, instant wealth. And you know what? The social media is literally engineered to exploit this. That is why every like your child receives on a TikTok, on an Instagram post, triggers a dopamine hit in their brain. Every viral video that they watch of someone making money triggers a pleasure response from your young adults. The truth is this: they are not choosing to be addicted to this content. Their brain is being rewired by it, one scroll at a time. Now, it's not a moral failure. It's not a moral failure on the part of your child. It's what I prefer to call a design vulnerability. And you know, the engineers behind all these social media platforms, they know exactly what they are doing. And that's why we must step up. We need to step up our games as intentional parents. Now, the key brain fact number 3 I want to share with you is that the identity search is real and urgent. The search for identity by your adolescent child or by your young adult is real and urgent. So you see, between the ages of 12 and 25, every young person is asking one central question. They're asking this consciously or unconsciously. They're asking, who am I? They're asking, do I matter? They're asking, you may not know, but they're asking themselves this question. You know, this is what developmental psychologist Erik Erikson called the identity versus the role confusion stage. This is the most critical identity formation period of a human's life. So you need to understand that when a teenager says, I want to be a content creator, I want to be a footballer, they are not just talking about money. They are talking about belonging. They're talking about belonging. They want a sense of, they need a sense of belonging. They're talking about significance. They're talking about being seen. And they're talking about having a voice in a world that has not given them a voice yet. You know, and here is the painful truth for us as parents. If we do not give your child, if we do not give our children a framework for identity, which means if we do not help them get a sense of who they are, please, I hope you can still hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure of that. So I was saying, I was trying to say that if as parents, is a painful truth, really. And I was saying that as parents, if we don't give our children a framework, you know, for identity by helping them to get a sense of who they are, what they are made for, and what
It seems we
need you to
can no
understand
longer
is
hear her.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you. You're back now. Go ahead, madam. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the brain fact number 4 that I would like to share with you is that emotional intelligence gaps are normal. So I need you to understand the fact that your young adult experiences emotions with adult intensity, but processes them with childlike tools or child level tools. You know, that is why you see your young adult react before thinking. You know, they shut down a difficult conversation. When the conversation gets a bit difficult for them, you see them, they shut down completely. You know, you see that child interpreting parental concern as you controlling them. And oftentimes you see them struggle to articulate what they actually feel. So when your child says, you don't understand me, they may be right. Not because you're a bad parent, but because you're having an adult conversation with a brain that is still learning how to have adult conversations. And tonight, I want to give you a bridge. Please, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what is your child really searching for? I've talked about, you know, what the questions the child is asking himself. Who am I? What am I here for? And all of that. So what is your child really searching for? And like I said earlier, a young adult is not simply looking for money. They are looking for significance. But what we see or what we interpret is the fact that they're looking for money, but they are looking for significance. Now, there are 5 questions every young child is typically trying to answer. They're asking, who am I? And by this, they want an identity. They want an identity. They're asking, where do I belong? And by this, they want acceptance. They're asking, where do I belong? Because they want acceptance. They're asking, what am I good at? Because they want competence. They want to be competent. They're asking, what am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? And that's because they want to know their purpose. They want to understand their role in the world. Your child is also asking, does my life matter? And that's because, like I said before, they want significance. They want meaning for their lives. So parents, I want you to know that when these questions remain unanswered at home, the child begins searching for answers elsewhere. The child begins to search for answers from peers, from influencers, from celebrities, from online communities, from even online groups that you don't know exist. And sometimes they search for them through from unhealthy relationships. Now, most parent-child conflicts are not really about school or about money or about social media. They're actually about communication breakdown. Your child is sending you a message. The question is, are you hearing the message your child is sending to you, or are you just reacting to their words or reacting to their behavior? I want to, now at this point, I want to just show you 3 layers of disengagement. 3 layers of disengagement and how you can recognize them, so that when a child says school is a waste of time, you will know exactly what that child is communicating. So the first layer, of disengagement, how your child is begins to disengage from you, is boredom, or what I call understimulation. So some of the signs of this is, you notice that your child is bored. Then you also see that this child excels better at things outside of school. So when it has to do with things outside of school, the child is not really doing very well. But when it has to do with things outside of school, this child is excelling there. That's the first layer, that is boredom or understimulation. Now, you discover at this layer that the child suddenly finds formal learning very slow or irrelevant. He thinks that formal learning, that's learning in the 4 walls of a classroom, he considers it as slow or as irrelevant. And also, one of the signs here is that the child develops a high appetite for self-directed learning, like online courses, and then watching YouTube videos that teach more of the things outside of the academics. Or then even the child starts to say things like school is boring. So at this point, what the child needs is something challenging. Your child needs stimulation. This child needs the type of learning that is connected to something that truly matters to him or her. And this time is not a time to give the child lectures on the importance of certificates. I hope you're getting that.
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at the second layer of disengagement, which is genuine alternative wiring. Now, the signs here that you notice that your child has a clear passion or skill that falls outside of traditional academics. You'll also notice that the child is entrepreneurial, the child is creative, or the child is technically gifted, and then the child feels suffocated by rigid structures. The child feels suffocated by rigid structures. You also notice that the child shows discipline and commitment in particular areas of interest. Once the child is interested in that thing, he's committed, he follows through, he's patient, he's disciplined, and is really interested. So what this type of child needs is for you to acknowledge their talent. This child needs you to show him or her a pathway, not in position. So you can guide that child now on a way to safely, navigate that passion that he has or that talent that he has, instead of imposing something on that child. So what this child does not need is you telling them that that gift or passion they have is not valid, that it's useless, that is not important, that is not relevant. That's not what the child needs at that point. So let's quickly go to the third layer of rebellion, which is the third layer, which is rebellion. Now, the signs you may notice here, there's a sudden drop in academic performance of that child. You may also notice that the child starts to withdraw socially, and the child's screen time and social media use starts to increase. You also notice signs of anxiety, depression, or even peer pressure. Also, the child starts to avoid school without any alternative purposeful efforts. So he doesn't want to go to school. Meanwhile, he doesn't even have any alternative to it. So what this type of child needs is a safe conversation. This child needs professional support. This child needs emotional attunement. So what this child does not need is punishment. He doesn't need you to shame him or her, and he doesn't need you to compare him or her with his siblings or with his friends. So at this point, I will also quickly show you the early warning signs you must know or take note of as a parent. These signs are usually come in form of behavior or emotions or verbal languages. So now the behavioral signs are usually, you notice constant complaints about school. The child is constantly complaining about school. So these complaints tend to escalate in intensity over time. Now your child is also suddenly starts refusing to complete or submit school assignments. Now, the child also begins to experience declining grades over a period of time, maybe over 2 or more consecutive terms in school. The child also doesn't have any conversation about his future plans, not even the fantastic plans. You don't ever get to hear him talk about his plans for the future. So those are the behavioral signs to watch out as a parent. Now, there are also emotional signs that you have to watch out for. So those signs could be your child is persistently bored, your child begins to feel hopeless and restless. Now, the child also begins to bottle up frustrations without letting out. You also notice one of the emotional signs also could be that the child portrays anxiety about the future. He's anxious about the future. And then you also notice he's also paralyzed about the present. He's not really doing much about the present. These are all the emotional signs. You also notice the child begins to somehow withdraw from family interaction. So these are emotional signs that you need to also watch out for. Then there are also the verbal signs. Here, the child is always saying things like school is a scam. The child is vocal about it. When you hear a child begin to say things like, I can learn everything I need on YouTube. I don't need to go to school. When you hear a child saying most rich people don't even have degrees. Or you hear a child saying that I just want to make money. That's all that really matters. So I want you to know that these statements are not your child's final position. They are not. These statements are flares, F-L-A-R-E-S. They are your child firing a signal that says, I need a better answer than the one I'm currently getting. Now the question is, are you ready as a parent to give them an answer? So let me emphatically reassure you that most teenagers don't hate school. They don't hate learning. Sorry, most teenagers don't hate learning. What they hate is learning that appears disconnected from their future. When a child feels that what you're telling him to go and learn or what he's currently learning has nothing to do with the future he's imagining for himself, that is what the child hates. So school is not the enemy. The real enemy is lack of meaning. Lack of meaning. When learning feels disconnected from purpose, motivation disappears. Now, as an example, a young girl who dreams of becoming a software developer, So a young adult who dreams of becoming a software developer still needs mathematics. She still needs tech skills. Now, a young boy who wants to become a content creator still needs storytelling. He still needs marketing. He still needs psychology. He needs communication. And even he needs some business knowledge. So a boy, a girl who wants to become a footballer still needs to be disciplined. He needs to learn discipline. He needs to learn the basic nutrition science. He needs to learn communication. He needs to learn financial literacy. He also needs to learn leadership. That's why he needs to also learn leadership. That's why I keep saying that there's no child that doesn't want to learn. But the important thing is what they are learning. Is it in sync? Does it align with the future or the future they are envisioning for themselves? So what am I saying? What I'm saying in effect is that every dream needs learning. Every dream, the dream your child has, whatsoever that dream is, it requires learning. The only thing is that learning can come in different clothes. It could wear the clothes of traditional academics, yes. It can wear the cloak of being in the classroom. Learning can also wear the cloak of self-paced knowledge. It can also wear the cloak of personal development. It can wear the cloak of apprenticeship. I'm sure we all know what apprenticeship is. It can also wear the cloak of mentorship. Now, having said all of that, the question is, what is your new role as a parent of a Gen Z or Alpha generation child? What is your role? I want to just say something to you. You see, the parenting model that worked 30 years ago is no longer sufficient. I say this a lot to parents. That parenting model, the one that worked when you were raised 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, is no longer sufficient in this particular era or this particular age. You know why? Information is everywhere, yet transformation is very rare. You see, with Google, with AI, social media, and of course, digital technology as a whole, your child can access almost any information they want at the snap of a finger. So your role is no longer to be, the primary source of information to your child, giving information to your child. Your new role, please take note of this, your new role is to become the person who is able to correctly interpret the world to your child. Your role is to become the parent that can help your child to aptly understand and successfully and safely navigate the world as it truly is at the moment. And to be able to do that, you need to learn, you need to understand, and you need to speak your child's language. In fact, you need to do this enough for them to trust you as their most powerful mentor. So instead of constantly correcting behavior, instead of constantly, nagging your child, please help them to find answers. And please pay attention to their personal development. Help them to find answers to their identity. Help them to find answer to the question, who am I? Help them to find answer to their character, who they are becoming. Because a child can become whatever, become wealthy, and without character, he will lose all that he ever got. So help them to find their character, who they are becoming. Help them to find their competence. By this I mean what problem they can solve. Help your child to discover the problem he's created or wired to solve. Help them to find answer to their contribution, because they're asking questions like, how will I make the world better? They're asking questions like, what role can I play in the world? And now every one of us has a role that God created us to play in this world. So it's your duty as a mother, not just, or as a father, not just to send your child to school. It's your duty to help them to discover all of these things that I've just mentioned. You see, when these four things become clear, your child's motivation becomes internal. You don't need to be chasing that child about, because you see that you automatically stop dragging your child, because your child will begin to drive himself or herself. Now, I want to spend a few minutes being very direct with you. And this is because I care about your relationship with your child. And I care about your relationship too much to be polite about this. You see, some of what parents do in response to this challenge of young people chasing success makes it significantly worse. Let me name some of the traps that parents are falling into. Now, you have the trap of fear-based parenting. This is where, it sounds like you're constantly introducing fear. Please, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, madam. We can. Go ahead, madam.
Thank you. So I was just talking about fear-based parenting, where I said fear-based parenting, sounds like you constantly introducing fear or using statements that evoke fear in your child. You may not know that's what you're doing, but you see a lot of parents do this. So example is when you say things like, do you want to be a nobody? Or you're telling your child you're a disappointment. Some tell their children you're a failure. Some even tell their children, I did not sacrifice everything for this. This is not what I bargained for. Now, you see how this does not work. And that's because fear temporarily suppresses behavior. You see, fear does not change the belief underneath it. What fear does is to temporarily suppress that behavior. Your child, out of fear, suppresses that behavior just because he doesn't want to be punished. But it does not change the belief that your child already has. So a child who complies out of fear has not been transformed. You have merely silenced that child. And of course, a silenced child, a child that is silenced, does not come to their parents when he or she is in real trouble. No, he won't come to you. The truth is, fear rarely produces motivation. You see, it produces either compliance without conviction. So the child will comply, but the child is not convinced about what you're asking him to do or what you're asking him not to do. He's only complying because out of fear. So fear either produces, fear produces compliance, without conviction, or it produces rebellion with double the force. And of course, you know that none of these two things benefits you or your child. Now let's look at the second trap, parents are quickly falling into, which is the trap of comparison. And I call it comparison parenting. This is when you say things like, your brother did not behave this way you're behaving. Look at your mates. When you're telling your child, when I was your age, I was a genius. When you're telling your child, you see your cousin that is your age mate, he just got admission to the University of Lagos. That's comparison. You see why this approach doesn't work? It's because every teenager has a unique love language. Every teenager has a unique writing. It has a unique handwriting of life. Every teenager has a unique timeline. So when you compare your child to another child, you're telling that child that you're not enough as you are. You're telling your child that he or she is not enough. And of course, when a child believes that they are not enough, they will either shut down or they will seek validation from the most ready source, or the most available source, or the most accessible source. And of course, most times you see the child, they seek validation from their phone. They just go to their phone and they shut out and then they stick to their phone. You see, this comparison trap, I don't even know how to just explain it, but it closes the very door you need to be open. You see that door that you need to have constantly open in your child's life. Comparison is a sure way of closing that door, because when a teenager feels judged at home, that teenager will stop bringing their real thoughts home. When they're coming home, they will keep their real thoughts at home and then come back with a thought that satisfies you. So what that does is that, what it means is that you lose access to your child's interior world. And that is the most dangerous place for you to be as a parent. Now, the third trap is that one of dream hijacking. Hijacking your child's dream. So what this particular trap sounds like is you telling your child, you will be a doctor. I am your father, and I have said it, and that is final. Or you're telling your child, medicine is the only stable career. You're also telling your child, nobody makes real money from music, so why do you want to go into music? Or you're telling your child, please stop wasting time on that so-called passion of yours, and then just go and focus on your books. So this is you hijacking the dream of your child. Now, let me tell you why this dream hijacking doesn't work. You see, a young person that has been forced into a pathway they did not choose will either walk in that pathway without passion, or in fact, he not as even know, or the child will either walk in that pathway without passion and of course produce mediocrity. Another thing the child may do is the child will eventually abandon it. He will abandon that pathway you have forced him to go to. You hijacked him and put him on that pathway. He will abandon it with resentment. And of course, none of these outcomes will honor your sacrifice as a child's parent. So the goal of parenting is not to reproduce your dreams in another body. In this case, in your child. Maybe the dream you had for yourself when you were younger, what you couldn't achieve. You think you want to now achieve it through your child. You see, that's not the goal. The goal of parenting is to help your child discover their own God-given design and pathway in life. That's your goal as a parent. And then your goal as you continue is to equip that child to walk in that God-given design and pathway, to walk in it excellently. And you see, there is no assignment that is more noble than this particular assignment. It's a fundamentally noble assignment. I just wish more parents can get to understand this. So the next trap is the trap of dismissal without dialogue. Now, this one is when you as a parent, you're always shutting down the conversation. Even before the conversation starts, you shut it down. You're saying things like, as long as you live in this house, you will not be this and you will not be that. You don't even give the child opportunity to explain himself. Or maybe it's even something that you don't even know much about. Because, I mean, this is a different era. Let's come to look at it. And you don't want to educate yourself and understand exactly what your child is saying. You don't want to make research. You just, you just want to stick to your old way of seeing things. You just dismiss that child. Now, this is also like you walking away. When your child tries to share their ideas, you walk away. You keep dismissing their passion as childish or unrealistic, without realizing that some of these young people know a lot more than you do, because they have unlimited access to information. Many of us have even refused to, try to catch up with technology, with the things happening, with all the new innovations. But the children, they are born into it. So it's like it's part of them. So they know a whole lot more than you. So you shutting that child and dismissing that child is really making a mistake. Now, this doesn't work because your child has a deep psychological need to feel heard before they can genuinely receive your guidance. You see, a child you dismiss, a child you shun, a child you walk away from, a child you keep making to feel little because he's your child, that child will keep listening to you. But that child will not genuinely receive guidance from you. Even if he receives from you, it's for a while. When that child is out of your sight, those things you have taught that child, he's not going to abide by them because he always remember that you never really allowed him or her to express themselves. You see, this is not about indulging them. It's not about me indulging young people. No, it's about neuroscience. You see, the adolescent brain, any adolescent brain that feels dismissed goes into threat response. And in threat response, the part of the brain that receives logic and wisdom just shuts completely down. When this is the case with a child, you're literally speaking to a closed mind. When the child gets to that point, when that part of the brain that receives logic and wisdom, when he shuts it down on you, anything you're saying to that child, you're speaking to a closed mind. So my point is you must open the emotional door before you can deliver the intellectual content you want to share with your child. So please listen first and then guide second. This sequence I'm giving you now is not optional. It's biological. Listen first, and then guide. That's why I keep talking about connection before correction. Now, I want to now quickly give you the practical tools, which is now the strategy. All I've been doing all this while is to help you to have the basic understanding. And then, now let me quickly give you the practical tools. I want to give you the strategy that actually works. Now, these things I'm going to give you, they're not mere theories. These are the approaches that I have seen work in my coaching practice and in the lives of families who are willing to do things differently. This strategy, I've seen it work, many times. So I want to quickly share that with you. So the first strategy is what I just said earlier, connection before correction. So you see, as a parent, the most powerful 4 words you can say to a child, a disengaged child, are not, you must go to school. Those are not the powerful words. Those words are powerless to a child who's already disengaged. Rather, what you should be saying is something like, help me to understand you. I want to understand you. I want to help you. So please help me to understand you. So examples of questions you should be asking your child sincerely. Don't just ask for the sake of asking or because Coach Nikky said you should ask. Sincerely ask these questions. What is it? Ask your child, what is it about school that feels wrong to you right now? The child will open up to you. Ask your child, what excites you? What is that kind of that excitement that you want that school is not giving you right now? Ask your child. Now ask your child, who do you admire? And why do you admire that person? These are conversation starters that actually work. Now ask your child, what do you want your life to look like by the time you're 40 years? Now, also try asking your child, what do you believe you are good at? These are questions that open the door and you open the door to the mind of your child, and your child begins to share and open up to you. So these questions do two things. First, they help you with intelligence gathering. They help you to gather intelligence, and they tell you which layer of disengagement you are dealing with, whether it is the first one, like I mentioned, or the second layer, or the third layer of disengagement. Now, secondly, these questions, more importantly, they open the emotional door, like I said. And you know what? That child who feels genuinely heard is the one who can eventually be guided by you. So the second strategy I want to give you is connecting. Try to connect your child's learning to their dream. You see, this is the most powerful reframe that is available to you as a parent. Like I keep saying, most young people do not hate learning. What they hate is when they're learning something without purpose. They don't know the reason why they're learning that thing. So the moment you connect a skill or you connect a subject your child is learning to something they care about, everything is going to change. And then, you see, one way to do this is by helping your child build a table. Help your child build a table. Just get a sheet of paper or a journal, draw a table, prepare a table that comprises your child's dream, the skills required for that dream, the skills you require to give life to that dream, and then the subjects, the school subjects that will help them to develop those skills. Now, for instance, for a child whose dream is to become a footballer, instead of dismissing that child's dream, let that table you're going to prepare, clearly show your child the skills he needs, and the subjects he also requires to study in order to become a successful footballer. So you understand that. So, for instance, if a child who wants to become a footballer, please, can you still hear me? Where I was talking about, helping your child to be able to connect their dream with the skill required for that dream, as well as the subjects that a child should study to be able to achieve that dream. So I was trying to say that you could prepare a table together with your child where, that's why it's important you need to find out, listen to your child, find out from your child. What is your dream? What do you want to become? What do you want to do? So when you have gone through that entire process with your child, so for instance, the child says, I want to become an entrepreneur, or I want to become a businessman. Let's use that word. So now there are some skills required. He doesn't just wake up overnight and go and become an entrepreneur. No one has said that somebody that wants to be an entrepreneur should not get an education. You can get an education and still be that thing. But you see, it's our approach as parents to these things that make us lose the children in the process. So a child that says I want to become an entrepreneur. So on that table, you have a column that says their dream, right? My child's dream, entrepreneur, right? Then you have another column that says the skills required. So on that, you go through it with your child, where you have done your research. Now, you discover that to become an entrepreneur, the child needs to know finance. The child needs to know, which means the child needs to study mathematics. The child needs to know finance. The child needs to know communication. The child needs to also become a leader. He needs to have leadership. He needs to also have strategy, right? So now, what are the subjects that is going to help that child to be able to know finance, know communication, know leadership? So what are those subjects? So the child needs mathematics. The child may need to study economics. The child may need to study government. The child definitely will need to study English language. Okay, so a second example is, for a child that wants to become, say, a musician. So the child needs skills like music theory. He needs, of course, he needs marketing. He needs intellectual property and all of that. So the child will need to study subjects like music. The child will need to study maybe subjects like economics. The child will need to study mathematics, because definitely you'll be calculating, if money will be coming and you'll be counting your money. So now, what happens when a child discovers that, oh, this is my dream, and this is the skill I require to pursue that dream, and these are the subjects I need to be able to, get this skill. Why wouldn't that child want to go, or you make out time to help to, first of all, listen and then understand what your child's dream is, and then you also go ahead to help that child to identify the skills required and the subjects that are required. The child definitely is not longer going to see school as a punishment. So that's just the point. So let me just move. There's no time, is not on our side. So this third strategy is, please show them what they cannot see. Show them what your child cannot see. Now you see those 30 seconds highlight reels. Those are social media strategy that intentionally show your child what they want your child to see. This is what they want young people to see. They want them to see the mansion. They want them to see the luxury. They want them to see the viral moments. They want them to see the overall success. They want them to see the school dropout who made millions. But they do not see the 10 years. I think the best thing is to stop at this point.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's take the questions. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. But I think I saw some people put some questions already in the chat box. The first question was by Godfrey Ndubisi. He said, how do you reconcile a child's passion for skill-oriented learning and that of learning in the four walls of the school without interfering with parental guidance for the child without a conflict? I don't know if you get that or you want me to repeat it, Ma.
Please repeat it.
It says, how do you reconcile a child's passion for skill-oriented learning and that of learning in the four walls of a school? How do you reconcile skill-oriented learning and learning within the four walls of a school without interference with parental guidance for the child?
Okay, that's fine. Also, it still boils down to what I've tried to explain. I hope that you got that. I hope that is part of the things you heard. I hope it's not part of what I said to me. But I said something about connection, very important. When you make effort as a parent to connect with your child, even from the early years, when the child is a toddler, the child is a young adolescent, 8 years, 10 years, when you make effort to connect, get your child to a point where your child sees you as the most influential voice, because definitely there will be other mentors in your child's life. There will be other people speaking to your child, people that are not known to you, their peers, the people they meet online, the people they meet in the course of doing life. But when the seed you have sown as a parent from the time when the child is still, you're the only one that is available in that child's life, the only one that child knows, and you make every effort to connect with your child. What connection does is that it helps your child to trust you, so much so that even when an external voice is speaking to your child is still able to come back and say, oh, mommy, oh, daddy, look at what I heard. There are children who never grow too old to share with their parents or to listen to their parents. Now, how do you reconcile a child that has interest in skill-oriented learning with the learning in the four walls, within the four walls of a classroom? All of them are learning. The truth is that it is not right for a child not to. The child should experience, there's what is called basic education. A child is supposed to experience the basic education, which is primary school, secondary school. So it is not okay that a child says, I want to learn skills, and the child does not go to primary school, or the child forfeits secondary school because he wants to learn a skill. That is not even what all I've tried to say is this. Connect with the child. Try to find out what your child's dream is and then guide the child. That was the last part I was trying to share. Make effort to find out, instead of dismissing your child, rather than dismiss your child's dream or say that the dream doesn't matter or that this dream is useless. What you're supposed to do is find out what this child's dream is. Even as a parent, you go and make a research. Find out the skills that are required for that particular dream that your child wants, or that particular career your child wants to pursue. Find out the skills that are required for it. And then what do? You now help the child to understand that this is what you want to become. Now, these are the skills you require for it, fine. But look at the subjects you have to study in order to acquire these skills. So when you get to that, when you do that with a child, that child will definitely understand that going to school is not a minus. Going to school is a plus for him. Going to school is what is even going to give weight, or what is even going to further validate that skill he wants to learn, or that dream. I don't know if I'm making any point at all.
Thank you very much.
Your child is not supposed to. Hello?
I said, no, thank you very much, madam. There are also other questions.
Okay.
Yeah, there are other questions in a row here. Okay, and we have just 13 minutes more. Let me read another one on the chat box. The book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, tends to reinforce the supremacy of money over schooling. What's your take on this, ma?
You see, money is very important. Money is very important. Schooling is very important. But you see, it depends on what the book is talking about. I'll say something, there's a difference between schooling and learning. There's a fundamental difference between schooling and learning. This somehow connects to even the first question I answered. It's important for a child to have education. There's anyone telling you that education is not important, is not speaking the truth, particularly at the age or the era that we are right now. So it's important, to record. Sorry, I just got some sad news now. It's okay. So it's important to recognize the fact that money is important. Learning is important. Telling a child not to go to school just because the child has to pursue money is not the right thing. It's not right. That's my take on that. It is not correct to say that money is superior to schooling. Not schooling now. Money is superior to learning. I really don't want to focus on schooling. I'm talking about learning. Like I tried to teach here to say there are different ways a child can learn. A child can learn even through apprenticeship. The important thing is for a child to go through the process. A child can learn through apprenticeship. A child can learn through mentorship. A child can learn through in the school now, which is in the four walls of a classroom. That is what you mean by schooling. So schooling is not the only way a child can learn, but it's important for a child to have the basic education, which is what will even help him to be able to navigate money. You can't have a stark illiterate with money. Definitely, how is he going to count his money? And he's definitely even not going to use his money in a way that serves him and serves the world. So I don't agree that money is superior to learning. What he may be talking about school, because some people place so much emphasis on certificates. So what I'm trying to say is that certificates is actually not knowledge. It is not education. There are people who have certificates but are not educated. So then what is priority is learning. Let your child be a lifelong learner. Let your child be a lifelong learner. So I even don't want to have a conversation about whether money is superior to learning. Learning is something that is imminent. Everybody has to be a lifelong learner. So that's what I want to say about that.
Thank you very much, ma. Someone has said here, action plan, parents, connect with the child, earn his or her trust. I got your explanation to my question. Thank you, ma, for this insightful presentation. We look forward to the concluding section next month. There is another question here. Good evening, ma. Thank you for this privilege. How can one help a child reconcile purpose and passion? How can one help a child reconcile purpose and passion? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Of course, yes, we can, ma'am.
Okay. You see, this is a very broad. I mean, this is a very broad topic. I could teach on this, in series, right? But I'm just going to just say something quickly. You see, what is passion? Passion is what your child loves to do. Passion is what your child can do, even when he or she is not being paid for it. Passion is what, even when your child does not know how to do that thing, he has passion for it. The passion that your child has for it will make him to do everything possible to know how to do it. That is what passion is. That is what passion is, like a fire that is burning. You want to do this. You love to do this. You can do this thing for hours without eating. You will even forget that. Like you have a passion for, maybe you have a passion for photography. You could be busy snapping pictures from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and you don't even remember that you have not eaten. That is when you have passion for something. Even when you're not being paid for it, you're willing to offer your service. You're willing to meet a need that you see in your environment because of you love to do it. Now, what is purpose? Purpose is the reason, is your why. That is your reason for being, the reason why you are alive, the reason why you exist. What I want to say is this: follow your passion. It will lead you to your purpose. Passion is one major thing, is a major pointer to the role that you have been assigned to play in this world.
Thank you very much, madam. There is one more question here. We just have like 7 more minutes and we should be through for the evening. But first, before we continue, can we please applaud Coach? I think he likes it when we call her Coach Nikky. So I'm not used to that, but I will try. So can we please, I'm a bit more formal. Well, can we please
use the formal name? I appreciate the formal name, please.
Okay. Can we please applaud Mrs. Nkiruka? Okay. You will agree with me that this has been a mind-blowing session. Okay, it's been mind-blowing. Okay, and she's fought back like a stallion. Even when network has failed twice or thrice, and she's back again. So you see the passion, you see the interest, you see she's an expert in her field. Honestly, madam, we doff our heart for you, and we want to say a big thank you once again. Yeah, you are changing lives, and thanks for making a difference in the life of the parents that are here. Okay, we'll just take the last question that is here, and then we will call it a day. We have 6 more minutes. Just to add, Ma, with regards to the first question you answered, how can you link your response to a child who desires to be a footballer? Okay, and some people's hands are raised up, I think, also. I'm not sure I've called anybody who has raised his or her hand up. Let me check. Yes, we have one hand up by Dicky Braid. Okay. So, would you go with that question?
Yes, I want to get the question. I didn't get that question.
Yeah. It says, because, okay, it's a bit fuzzy also for me, because the person said, just to add, Ma, with regards to the first question you answered, how can you link your response to a child who desires to be a footballer? So,
okay, a child desires to be a footballer. Nothing says that a footballer cannot go to school. We have footballers who are first degree holders. We have footballers. I'm sure if you even look around the world, you might even see footballers who are PhD holders. So there's nothing that says that a child who wants to be a footballer should not go to school, right? The fact is, your child wants to be a footballer. Don't dismiss that child's dream. Don't dismiss the passion the child has for footballing. Don't wave it away with the wave of the hand. What you need to do is help the child. Like I said, do a research. Tell your child, okay, you want to be a footballer. Oh, that's good. But it's good for you to develop the skills and also to go through the subjects that will help you to develop the skills you require to become a footballer. I went ahead to mention, okay, maybe that was the point the network went on, but we'll discuss that the next time we come back. I meant ahead to mention some of the skills that a footballer requires. A footballer requires to know about basic nutrition so that he can keep his health in in full check. So a child that did not go to school, how will he know about nutrition? A footballer needs to know a little bit about mathematics to be able to calculate his money. A footballer needs to know certain things about leadership. So if a child does not go to school, how will he be able to? So that's the difference between the footballers that you've seen that made it to the global stage and those who, have played football for 25 years and are still local players. So for you to become, tell your child, for you to become an outstanding footballer, mention names. You need to, these are the subjects you need. You need to know a little bit more about this. And that means, please, you need to go to school, study biology, study health science, study mathematics, study English so you can communicate well. So when you're able to, connect with your child, that's why I keep talking about connection. If your child trusts you, your child will listen to you because he knows that the guidance you're giving him will eventually, ultimately lead him to acquire that, to achieve that dream. Remember that I said children don't hate learning. So I don't want to use the word schooling, but I keep saying there's the various ways we can learn. So a child that does not understand exactly why he has to go to school and study chemistry or biology when he wants to become a footballer, definitely will not be comfortable. But if your child trusts you enough to know that mommy has said, go to school, get this basic knowledge, and then we'll keep supporting your dream to become a footballer, that child is definitely going. So please connect with your child so that your child can trust you, and then guide your child by showing your child those skills and the subjects he needs to get from school before he can make progress with football. Thank you.
Excellent. Please, can we appreciate our speaker for the night one more time? While you are appreciating our speaker, some people here said, God bless you, ma, and reward you richly. We look forward to the concluding session next month. Another person has written, thank you so much. I get it perfectly. So on this note, we want to sign off. I want to say thank you, everyone who have connected tonight. And help me, please, to say a big thank you to our speaker for the night,